and thank you for joining us. I am Stephanie with the Women's Empowerment Network, and I'm joined today by Brianna White in our weekly segment, Real Confidence, where we talk about being willing to be visible and have confidence and show up on social media using short form video content, aka Reels. So Bree and I had a quick chat before we came on today about what we're going to talk about, because this is generally pretty impromptu. We have some basic ideas of things we want to talk about, but we don't script it at all. We talk about our own experiences. It's all very real. We're learning out loud here. And so I had suggested talking about some, upcoming holiday themes, being able to use that for Reels. But Bree has some really exciting news that she wants to share with you all. And I think it's a great testimony to the power, right, of showing up as your authentic self, all your parts, even though you may not believe that all the different parts that make up you will be attractive to all the clients. So I'm going to let Bree explain a little bit more about what I mean by that, but just so let's turn it over to her.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So I shared a couple of times the last few sessions that we've had. I've been giving a bit of a tally for a video that I made that went viral for me, which was honestly anything over like 100 views felt viral for me, because really when I make my content, it's not that I'm necessarily looking for something viral. I'm looking for real engagement. I want people to actually enjoy what I put out, but also I'm doing it for me because I think it's fun to make this type of content. And when I posted the video that I did about my wardrobe is colorful, and then it is an all black wardrobe with different shades of black, essentially, I had so much fun making that video. And on top of that, I ended up doing a behind the scenes video because one of the outfits I actually got stuck in and had to ask my neighbor to help me because the zipper broke off. So it was a whole thing. And I just remember joking when I did this behind the scenes video saying, I hope this video is worth it, because the amount of panic that I went through getting stuck in this dress for 30 minutes, it was a lot. It was definitely worth it, because as of this week, I have over 250,000 views on this video. It's been shared. I have lost track of how many times it's been shared, but I am getting notifications every day still of people commenting on it, liking it, tagging their friends in it, who they're like, this is your wardrobe, or this is you and me. And it's relatable, right? Like, that's what you love to see, is when people go, I see myself, or I see my friend, or I see a family member in this thing. And that's how you build that organic relationship with people. Is like, yeah, I'm a stylist and I have a mostly black wardrobe, but it works for me and other people relate to that. So not only was it just fun to make and see all of this come out of making this video, I had somebody reach out to me through Instagram and they said, I really enjoy the reels that you make. They're really funny. I know that you said you're a personal stylist. Do you work with men as well? And do you work virtually? Because I'm not local to where you are, according to any of your posts on Instagram. And I said, yeah, actually, I work with men, women, non-binary individuals, and I can work virtually or in person. That's the benefit of what I do, is I have components for being able to work hybrid or in either facet of that. And I'm starting to work with this new male client because of a video I made. On top of that, when we were chatting after we initially started saying, let's do a quick call and make sure that we're a good vibe for each other, more than just I have one video that he thought was funny. He was telling me how his entire life he's been a nerd. He's like, I read the entire Lord of the Rings series when I was in grade school. I've always loved Star Wars. I love all of these things. And you put out those videos about cosplay and accidental cosplay outfits for around Halloween that I did, because costumes and cosplay are something that I've always been interested in. And I have an entire Ren Fair series that I did, because again, these are things that I've done, and I tied them into fashion because that's what I do as a business. And I found ways of making my two worlds meet in a way that was fun for me and didn't feel hard. And not only did somebody acknowledge that, they related it to it so much that he specifically told me, I'm at a point where I know that I want to figure out what my style is, because I haven't figured it out, and I feel like I should in my life. And I know that if I'm going to work with a stylist, I want it to be you, because you relate to me, you understand me, you are a fellow nerd, and it makes my heart so happy, because it's like, yeah, a lot of people would try to hide that and be like, no, I'm I'm a stylist. I know all the luxury brands, and we're going to make sure that this is super fashionable. And I try to take a more holistic approach of, well, how do you feel about that? It doesn't have to be a luxury brand for you to feel luxurious in it. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make you feel like you get to be yourself? It's something I've always been adamant about, especially being in the queer community myself. That's something I've been adamant about. And it's taken me years to get to a point of being comfortable to post about that, to post about my cosplay stuff. I used to hide that under my modeling when I did it, because I was like, they're close enough that it's like costume, modeling, photography, that works in its own world, but I won't share it outside of this blog that I've created. And then I realized, no, this is something that makes me really happy to do daily basis. If I could, I would, especially around Halloween. It's just, I feel really inspired to do it. And same thing with the holiday season. I get really inspired by, how do we pull from the themes and holidays and all this fun stuff? And how can I tie fashion into it? And I feel like I've been able to do that through short form video really well. And again, it's like allowing myself to lean into those things. It's connected me to other people who understand, and don't just understand and appreciate what I'm doing and think my videos are funny. It was relatable to them enough that they were like, you're the person I want to work with, because that's why you're different. You're not just any stylist. You're the stylist who understands nerds. Like, I can't even explain. We're going to have our like first real call tomorrow. I've already started pulling all these like nerdy inspired clothes, which I have no clue if that's what he's looking for. But I was like, well, in case you are, here's some suggestions of like casual cosplays without needing to be, because it's fun for me. And I feel like at the very least, he'll appreciate it, because that's what I appreciate. And that's when you know you're finding your people. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I put myself in the shoes of, well, this is what everyone else wants me to be. So rather than leaning into my really nerdy, geeky interests and sharing about those openly, let's put those aside and only do, well, this is what they think a stylist is supposed to be. So that's what I'm putting myself out there as. No, put yourself out there as yourself. People will find you.
Definitely. Definitely. I love that. And I love how, you know, just the awareness around showing up as yourself, regardless of what the expectations are. And I think all of us can relate to that, especially on social media. You know, we try to be a certain way and project a certain image, and that is platform dependent, unfortunately, right? When we do that. And I did it, I fall victim to it all the time. Like, for example, right now, I have the opportunity with the software to be able to broadcast across several social media channels. And I'm currently streaming this on Twitter. Do I want to do that? No, because I don't talk about these kinds of things on Twitter. I actually don't talk about much on Twitter, to be honest. But the point is, it felt a little hard and it felt a little uncomfortable. But the reality is that I have a lot of different interests, and you know, this is one of them. And empowering women through, you know, confidence and being visible on social media, you know, and showing up as the real you across all places, all people, all things. And I think, you know, your story, Bree, is an absolute testament to that, you know, no matter how strange or niche or, you know, just a mishmash of different things you may be made up of, you know, we all are, that there is someone out there, a potential client, who is waiting for exactly you in, you know, the way that you are, not the way that you're going to pretend to be to fit some sort of mold. They're waiting for you. They're out there. And the only way that they're going to find you is if you start creating content and showcasing all those parts of yourself. And that's something that you've been very committed to from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it can be really challenging. And I think that's something we talk about here a lot too, is it's harder to put yourself out there than to take on, like, well, if I take on this character, that's easy. You know, for a lot of people, it's like, it's easy to act. I'll take on this character, and anything that they say that other people don't like, it's not me, it's the character. So to put yourself out there, there's that vulnerability that you have to put out there, but also there's the fear of, well, what if someone comes back and they're like, fucking nerd, what's wrong with you? Why do you have an all on border? What kind of stylist are you? Ooh, you like that? Oh, you're queer? Ooh, I don't want to work with you. What if you hit on me? Like, all of these things that could happen. You're exposing so much of yourself when you do that. And especially as a business owner, it's like 10xing that, because you're like, this is the business that I am building from the ground up, and it's my personal life. And I'm trying to combine the two and share it with the people out there, so they know, like, there is somebody behind this business, but also like it is a business and a profession that I have and a career that I have. And I think that's the hardest thing to start is putting yourself out there. But the rewards are so much more worthwhile when you do that. And you don't have to force yourself to be someone else or to suddenly shift gears and be like, okay, so I spent a year not being me, and now I want to be me, and now I have to try and shift things in a totally different way than I have been, and now I feel awkward because this is me being awkward on camera versus like I've taken on this character, so they're doing great on camera and I'm not. Like I even shared this week for me personally. I wear eye makeup all the time. This is kind of a segue, but like I wear eye makeup all the time, and Steph knows this from when we work together. If I didn't wear any other makeup on my face, I'd wear at least eyeliner. And I joked about this because I made a reference to the 2000s when I did my makeup in the early 2000s and how the only thing I wore was eyeliner, really poorly applied, but that was my go-to. And this week I had like a sty that I got on my eye. So I haven't been able to wear eye makeup. And I was like, okay, so what can I do to avoid being on camera? Oh, hey, that's the first thought that I need to go, let's redirect that, because this is literally a human condition that happens. Like people experience this all the time, and it's going to push me out of my comfort zone, because how many people show up without makeup because they feel really good about themselves, or they do it because, you know, they don't wear makeup regularly or whatever. And I was like, this is something that I need to push through, because if I'm that uncomfortable that I'm willing to consciously make the choice of not doing anything on social media that involves my face this week because I can't put eyeliner on, what does that say? Like I need to push myself. So I purposefully have been doing more stories and things this week. And yes, I'm wearing other makeup to be like, I don't want to feel like fully without my makeup. We're slowly releasing the blanket here. Okay. But it's like, I didn't think I'd be as comfortable as I am by this point in the week, at the beginning of the week. I could not imagine. And it's not that big of a deal. And I feel like it's actually given me a sense of relief to be like, you know, if I go and do a story because something happened that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this thing right now, but I'm not wearing a full face of makeup, I don't want to have to put that off because I have to go put on a full face of makeup because that's what I'm used to doing. Now that I've had this experience, I think it'll be easier for me to just jump on if I'm going for a walk and I have this thought that I want to share, or if I see something that I want to share. And it doesn't matter if I'm wearing makeup or not, because also I'm human. I wasn't born with makeup. This is my face. Well, I got lipstick and eyebrows painted on right now because there are no eyebrows otherwise. So it's, you know, most of my face. But it's like, even that was a reminder this week of how you're constantly growing. There's always going to be new things that come up that you're going to be intimidated by. And it's such a good opportunity to go, why am I intimidated by that? What can I do to push my boundaries in a comfortable way? And then push further and push further until you suddenly are on the other side going, you know what? That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Then next time something comes up, this is going to get easier and it's going to be okay. And especially around social media, I think that can be really intimidating. So just know that it's okay to put yourself out there in whatever capacity you look or feel like. And yes, this is coming from a stylist. Like if you're in your PJs, but you're like, I just really need to share this thing and I don't have the time to go and change into another outfit, or I don't have the energy to do it, it's okay. Because you're human and it makes it relatable. Do I think that you should do that all the time? No, I do think that there is something to actually getting dressed and feeling put together, and what you put out there is more polished and professional just in how you are going to present yourself. There's a lot of P's. But it, you know, you're human. So it's like, if you are off for the holidays, but you want to pop on and say happy Thanksgiving and you're in your pajamas around the table with your family, there's other people out there who are doing the same thing, and they're probably going to appreciate and go, hey, look, that's your family. Hey, that's what you do when you're actually not working right now, just like me. Oh, you're human. That's my rant.
No, that's great. That's great. It's totally on target. I think that we you know, we feel the need, you know, that we need to project this sort of, you know, false impression of ourselves, and not understanding that it's the relatability. It's the being able to tug at the emotions of other people in some way, getting them to connect. Those are the pieces that are going to make people want to consume more of your content, want to see more of you. Because when you are hiding behind the name of your business and hiding behind this sort of wall that we tend to put up when we, as business owners. And instead of showcasing you as a personal brand, I am my business. I am the face of my business, and this is me. That's how you're going to get these loyal followers and these people that are going to fall in love with you and everything you do, because they see all the parts of it. They don't see just this aesthetic, which, I feel like now we're moving away from that. But that was so dominant in social media for so long. But in reality, I mean, it's really because social media was new. As a new medium, people thought it was like it needed to be very performative, and the reality is that, now we're seeing with the advent of short form content video, people want to see real life. They want to see fun, more relaxed, more relatable. Again, more content that's more human, more about connection. I was just listening to Heather Parody's podcast. For any of you that don't know Heather, she's an amazing resource. She's a super creative person who dips her toes in everything and is unafraid to try all the things. And she does that comment I made earlier about learning out loud. I actually got that from Heather. I was in one of her masterminds earlier this year on community building. But she has a podcast and she has great guests. And she just had a woman who's like a brand strategist on talking about this very thing, about storytelling, right? And about emotions and about, being able to use yourself and your personal brand as a way to connect with potential buyers, customers, audience, what have you, and figuring out ways. And this is probably something we can talk about and expand upon in a future segment, about identifying what those things are for you, right? Like being able to know, like you have that, Bree, that you're very self-aware and you know what you are and you know what your interests are and you're able to showcase that. And I think there are a lot of people out there that struggle with that may not know, like, really, who am I? Who am I? What do I stand for? What are the things that I want people to know about me that make me more relatable, and how can I invite more of my personal brand into my business? And I think getting caught in that trap of, like you said, where you're showing up as this sort of false image. And I use it all the time. I mean, when I was, early on, and I still occasionally do it, but for different reasons. But when I was early on, first starting my business, I would always say I would always refer to my business as we, and there is no we. It's just me. And I did that, not realizing subconsciously it was a way to protect myself and a way to remove myself from it somewhat, and also probably to make it seem bigger than it was.
Right.
And that, of course, is not true. There are single person brands out there that are rocking it, that can compete with any of larger organizations with hundreds of people working there. So it's really not about the number of people that have anything to do with it, but we have these ideas. We get subconsciously, we take this in by the content we consume, and then we look and we say, oh, okay, all of the other people on Instagram that are in my niche, all of their grids look like this. I need to have my stuff look like theirs. And then you'll turn around and go on Canva, and you can see it. If you go on Instagram, you can see, you're like, oh, especially if you're a Canva user, you can see like, oh, all of the people that work in this industry use these templates, and all the people that work here. And now you're not differentiating yourself, and you're turning your business and your brand into a commodity, where it's just, what does it matter? You buy flour at one store, you buy flour at another. It's all the same flour. I'm using flour and thinking Thanksgiving. It's all the same. And so thinking and being more thoughtful around, how can I really showcase myself? How can I use short form video to show the different parts of myself, even if it's just, relatable, real life, and something that might not have necessarily something to do with your niche or what you do business in, but it can be like a funny thing that happened at Starbucks that morning or whatever, or Dunkin' Donuts, and this funny thing happened in line, makes you more relatable. And I think that what you've done, because I've had a front row seat for it all, on your path of creating all this content, and then imagine that this guy reaches out to you. Now, is he the only guy in town who is a cosplayer and nerd, but yet cares about how he looks? Probably not. I'm sure there are a hell of a lot more out there like him. And the fact that now he can say, hey, I went to the stylist, and his friend will be like, a stylist? Like, no, you don't understand. She's totally cool. She's into cosplay. She does Ren Fair. She does this. She does all these things. Now, all of a sudden you become, and I've said this, I was like, Brie, that's your niche. I remember I was saying like gamers even would be a great niche for you. Because you're a little bit edgier. And that in a good way. Who wants just another shade of vanilla? That's just boring. It's just boring, the same thing over and over again. And they could just easily substitute a different stylist out for you. And if there's no difference because you're getting the same advice, now you're not differentiating yourself or your personal brand at all.
It's true. Yeah. And it's like the idea of, working with gamers. I love that idea. You know why? Because I'm a gamer. Because what do I do when I have a spare couple of minutes? I sit down in front of my TV and I pull out whichever role-playing game I'm currently invested in and doing a side quest on that's taking me away from the main quest. Which is why even the language that I use sometimes when I'm talking on my website, or just when I'm talking to people in general, I'll bring up gaming terms. I talk about leveling up your wardrobe because for the right person, they're going to hear that and go, level up, like video game level up? Like, does she know what that means? And then once they look into what I have on my website and what type of stuff I'm personally interested in, then they say, oh, she did mean that. Well, what type of video games do you like? And it's like, when I share more stuff about that, where I'm like, this is what I'm playing right now, or like, I've never tried this game, somebody tell me your feedback on it, you're building relationships again. And it's because I'm being myself. And I'm learning by being myself and finding the type of people that I want to connect with. We work really well together through that because you have those similarities with someone. And so you have that understanding. So it's like for the people who are like, I love cosplaying. I know how to cosplay a character. I have a hard time getting dressed as me. I get that. I've been there. I have been that person where it's much easier to put on the costume and say, I'm being this character than to be yourself. And so having come out through the other side and starting to find myself through that process, I can help to like put some of the steps down so that they can continue on that road and basically be the bridge between where they are right now and where they want to be, because I've already crossed it. So I feel like, again, I feel like I can't fully explain just how important it is to really embrace yourself in this process and to just be who you want to be and have fun and like have fun, really allow yourself to have fun, whatever that looks like for you, because your fun is different from somebody else's fun. And that's good, because your fun is going to be the right client's fun for you. It's going to be the right connection, the right next best friend that you want to have that you've magically met through social media, because it's crazy that happen. There are so many benefits of it where you can build those connections because of it, because you see those similar interests and commonalities that wouldn't have come up in a conversation where you were just meeting for the first time. But the more that you start seeing those small clips of this is what this person's daily life is like, this is what their business is like, this is their personality, building on that. And it's just so impactful. And I think for a lot of people, again, just they want that instant gratification overnight. And it doesn't work that way, because you don't build a relationship overnight. It takes time and it takes trust. And like that video that we shared that was talking about consistency, you need the consistency of putting yourself out there and sharing about yourself and building, again, the like, no trust with people, but also just the tiny actions each day. That's what builds up a relationship. That's when people start to actually fall in love. It's not the on Valentine's Day, I said, I love you randomly. It's these little things each day that someone realizes after however many years, this is why I love this person. I was like really paraphrasing from that video, but yeah, like these are the things that can be applied anywhere in your life. And especially with short form content that people get really nervous about posting, be yourself.
Right. And really, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone's going to leave a negative remark,
troll,
a negative comment, troll, okay. So, and for the most part, we also, I think, hold this image of ourselves in our mind as like so much bigger and everyone's paying so much attention, and they're not. they're scrolling on to the next thing. They're finding something else. They're not sitting thinking that night about, oh, remember that video that she looked like an idiot. Nobody cares that much. No one cares as much as we think that they do.
Mhm.
But I think that, we've talked about this before, using visibility on social media as a vehicle for personal growth.
Mhm.
And at the same time, especially when you're using it for business, using, starting a business and operating your own business as a vehicle for personal growth, those two things tend to go hand in hand. And you'll find that, as you are able to show up on camera, do a 10-second video, do a 30-second video, do a 1 minute, each time you're able to do that and develop that confidence, it's going to pay off so much more down the road, in that you're going to have more content out there. It's more visibility, more opportunities for people to see you. And also, I think the most important piece of it is that you start to learn and find your own voice.
Yeah.
If you are stuck and you're saying, I can't put out content, I can't create reels because I don't know what to say, I can't find my voice,
Mhm.
you're getting it reversed. The
Yeah.
way to find your voice is to start putting out content. That's how you
Mhm.
find your voice. And we think that we need to wait until we have the perfect thing before we broadcast it out into the world, when in reality, it's the process of putting the content out into the world that helps us understand ourselves better and our
Yeah.
voice. And we're able to say, oh, wow, that felt good to say that. Or when I
Mhm.
made that reel, that one, I did that one. I think over the summer, I did some kind of like mini challenge just for myself. I did like posted every day for, I think I said I was going to do like 2 weeks. I think I did like 8 days or whatever, but I got a big jump in followers and all that. But what it showed me was more important than the metrics. It showed me what what felt good to talk about and what didn't. And
Mhm.
that you're not going to learn unless you start doing it.
Yeah.
And until you shake off the nerves, because when you're first starting out and you don't want to do it and you're nervous, it's all going to feel terrible,
Yep.
right? It will all feel bad. But then eventually, as you get more comfortable and you're doing it more often, there are going to be topics or things that you talk about or approaches that you take or types of reels that you create. They're going to feel great. And then there are going to be others that are like, oh God, talking about that felt hard and heavy and really not fun. And even
Mhm.
if it's a difficult topic, you can still approach it, with some levity and feel good about it. And I think that's something that people sometimes get reversed. I hear that a lot of like, I don't know what to create. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to, and really the answer is you just have to start, if you want to start moving the needle on your business, on your personal brand, whatever it might be. And this is something that we've been talking about since the beginning. Right now is the time, don't wait and say, oh, next year, or I'm gonna, because right now the visibility and the algorithm gods are highly favoring reels across all the platforms.
Right.
They're prioritized on Twitter. I'm sorry, on on Instagram, on Facebook, and then of course TikTok is its own ecosystem. But every single platform out there is favoring the short form content. So, there are people that I have followed for a while that I never thought I would see them doing reels, and they're doing reels.
Mhm.
And it's, and because you can't beat it. You can't beat the exposure. So, why would you spend hours crafting, a post
Yeah.
if no one's going to see it, as opposed to, writing out a little script or doing some note cards and doing a quick little video, a snapshot of your day. And that's, a great place to start. Is you can just start with, my day, my morning routine,
Right.
my, whatever, this is what this looks like. People want to see that. Humans, we're wired for connection, so we're wired to want to see other humans' faces, and we're
Mhm.
going to be more attracted to that than anything else.
Yeah.
So, if it's something that you've been on the fence on, don't wait, I guess is the answer. You
Yeah.
really
What
want
is
to start.
that quote? It's the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The next best time is today.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yep.
see a tree, you got to plant the seed. You got to start somewhere, and wanting it to happen, wanting to see quick turnover, it's not going to happen unless you start. Like,
Right.
That's the
Right.
first step, is starting.
Yeah. And especially if you're looking to pivot, if you are a business owner and you want to pivot with your offerings, or you want to pivot to like a whole new industry, or you're in a 9 to 5 and you want to get out, these are tools, they're free tools. These are free. You don't have to pay for them, and you can play and figure out your message, your voice, your brand, start putting it out there, and start setting yourself up for, do you want to know what spring 2023 is going to look like for you business wise, personally? Start putting it out now. And if you get consistent and start posting on a regular basis, you're going to be able to start narrowing in on a niche, finding your voice, finding the things that feel good, recognizing the things that don't, and being able to really come up with those things that make you uniquely you. And that's why people are going to want to do business with you. And even if it's not business, we've talked about this before, a personal brand is not just about making money in business. A personal brand is just, your avatar as you move through the world. Like, oh, that's the girl that XYZ, that's the stylist gamer. If you were not working as a stylist, that would still be you.
Right.
Oh yeah, my friend Bree, she's the one that, always does the cosplay and the gamer, and she dresses all in black and she does modeling,
enjoy Spirit Week a little bit too much.
Right. Because I knew you before you were stylist, and it's the same thing, right? It's all the same thing. And you weren't afraid from the very beginning to show all that, to show all those parts of yourself. And I think that's why, what you're doing is paying off.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think a lot of people, they probably do see the things that I do and they're like, wow, you're so confident and you're so like, you put yourself out there, you share the things that you love. That's great. Oh, the intimidation though, when I first started, like, I mean, this is also years, it's years for me of putting myself out there online. It started with doing, like we mentioned briefly, like I did modeling for about 10 years. And it was with local photographers mostly. And a lot of it was just creative collaborations that we would come up with. Some of it was cosplay, some of it was fashion, some of it was lifestyle. But that was where it started for me, was getting comfortable being in front of a camera. And I cannot tell you, for the first probably, 9 out of 10 of those years, I would drive to these photo shoots wanting to turn back around and go home, thinking that I was going to vomit on the way because I was so nervous about getting in front of this camera. And I loved it. Like, I loved being in front of the camera. I loved working on these photos and seeing the end results, but it didn't take away that I was still so nervous about it and so intimidated by the idea of, what if this doesn't go well? Or what if I'm like really bad today? Or what if my outfit looks stupid that I put together for this costume? But it was the practice and the consistency of doing it for 10 years that got me to a place where, when I talk to people who are at a similar industry level in what we do and are trying to put themselves out online, they're feeling like they're so much further behind me. And I'm like, we're at the same level though. And they're like, no, but you show up so much more confidently. And I realize it's because I've already put in 10 years of practice. So no matter where you are with your business, know that like someone else is in the middle somewhere. Like, you can't compare yourself. That's the other thing. Don't compare yourself to other people, but you can learn from them. Because even someone who's new to it, they might use a technique, or they might share in a certain way that you've never done or thought of before, and you can learn from that. So one, don't compare yourself to other people and think that you'll never be as good as them, because their middle might be your beginning or someone else's end. And also, never think that you can't learn from a newbie either, because they have all sorts of new ideas and they have all sorts of aspirations and motivations that a lot of people lose after doing things a certain way and have a hard time pivoting. Somebody who's new to it is just taking it all in and going, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try that. Let's try the sample packet and see what we like, versus this is how we do things because this is how I've gotten comfortable doing it.
Yeah. And I think that people don't, may not have awareness around the fact of how quickly trends change and how social media changes, and that, what was recommended when they started out, 5 years ago, it's like a whole different landscape now. One of the things that's a great resource, if you want to, if you're looking to find what is it that people are talking about that might be related to my niche that I can create content around, is just going to a website like Answer the Public. And then you can, it's basically like SEO research, like what are people asking about? It could be, dressing for the holidays.
Yeah.
And you can find, they have all kinds of graphics and it shows the different types of questions that people are asking, and finding something that's relatable and that you can, put your own unique spin on, and start with that. That can be a piece of content that you start, I'm going to do a 30-second video answering this question that I see being asked. There's all kinds of tools out there now. It's not nearly as hard and complicated as it used to be able to find out, SEO research and what people are asking about and what people want to know.
Mhm.
There's so many tools that we can use that it makes it really a no-brainer. And then the only hard part is just you showing up,
Right.
Which that's no small feat, but that's the hard part. The hard part is, okay, so now how am I gonna show up in this video? What am I gonna say? How am I gonna present myself?
Mhm.
And being able to have that connection, and then all of a sudden you'll start to see over time which videos were landing with people. You'll be able to see that. You'll be getting more comments, more engagement, more shares, more bookmarks, more likes, more whatever. And you'll be like, aha, that was, that maybe that's the magic formula for me. I talked about this, but I used it in this way and I added a little bit of that. I'm going to try to replicate that again.
Mhm.
And, as far as, even for TikTok, I mean, if you're someone who is, has a product or a service or a business that's going after younger people, it's pretty much happening now that they are using TikTok as a search engine.
Right.
Young people are not just young people, but young people are not using Google. They're, so I mean, I have a bunch of Google alerts for different things set up for different niche areas for me, and I don't necessarily focus on a younger demographic. But if you're someone that does, you need to start looking. Even if you don't use TikTok, like even if you're not going to put you put reels on TikTok and create them, you can start looking there to see what people are talking about and what people are looking for, because it's a great resource.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I think we forget about that. Like we forget that, social media, they're technology tools,
Yes.
and it's not just about the presentation of content. You can just look at them to see what people are talking about, what kinds of things people are posting, and use it as research, not just about a vehicle to post a thing, a place to post an article or a link or a reel or whatever it might be. Being able to sort of really, put your finger on the pulse of like what's happening. And, certainly what's happening on Facebook is different than what's, happening on Twitter versus TikTok. It's all different things, but that's the beauty of it. Because that's where you can find, if you're trying to still work on finding your voice, it might be that, your voice and the way you say things and present things is more suitable to, Twitter or LinkedIn versus Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and understanding that, using all of those, using them as tools, and not saying, oh no, I can't possibly, I don't want to start learning another, social media platform. You don't necessarily have to learn it. You don't necessarily have to use it, but you should spend some time looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a gamer. I don't do anything really with gamers. There's really nothing that I could niche down to necessarily service gamers. I have a Twitch account. Spend some time looking around there to see what they're doing and see what people are talking about, because I was curious about it. Yeah. And I saw that, oh, wow, there's people on Twitch that are streaming content that has nothing to do with gaming.
Right.
And that was like, wow, that boggled my mind. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's been a while since I've been on there. It's probably much more. This is like last year I did this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just goes to show, it's market research, figuring that out, being knowledgeable about all the different ecosystems out there, and understanding that the creative that you create, the post or reel, or, I know we're specifically talking about reels here, but whatever that might be, will be received differently on different platforms, and knowing that in advance, and saying, okay, I'm looking for more of a LinkedIn audience.
Yeah.
I would maybe tailor it in a certain way, or at least knowing what, what are the things that are doing well there. You can find so much information, again, just from a market research standpoint of just figuring out, because I feel like a lot of people that are, maybe watching, aren't, I mean, obviously people that are like, real superstars and constantly posting reels, you're not going to be watching this. I mean, I'm assuming these are the people that are watching are curious around getting started or getting momentum or finding their voice. So, just being curious around that and taking the time to not, you don't have to, again, learn it, but spend some time there,
Yeah.
even if it's something that you may not know anything about. It will be very eye-opening, I think. And I think that the other piece of that is that you could now turn around and, because you were exposed to something you typically don't see, have this like revelation of like, oh my God, I see how I could take that thing from sort of that platform, that ecosystem, and tweak it and now put it out in a totally different way to the people that I'm looking to go after,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think in familiarizing yourself with what's out there, again,
Mhm.
you don't have to be fully jumping feet first into it and trying to post all
Mhm.
this stuff or get super involved in it, but just find the things that you're interested on that platform to start and see what those people are putting out, see what people are talking about, what they're interested in. And like Steph said, use it as market research and just see what the options are. Because I think that's a big thing too. People don't even realize what's possible. Like people don't
Right.
realize that Twitch it can be for more than just gaming. It is a way of streaming to a specific type of audience, but in a larger capacity at a time. And there's so much you can do with that. And
Mhm.
people automatically think, oh, well, that's just for gamers. There's musicians on there. There's people
Yep.
who are just doing like ASMR and they're just like, I'm just creating this space so that if you want to have background noise or if you want to talk, like we can have
Yep.
a conversation. If you just need a place to vent to somebody, come on here and we can have this interaction. It's not just me posting a video, it's us actually talking. So
Right.
there's a lot more to it, I think. And I think that is any of the platforms really is until you take the time to investigate it a bit and get curious, you won't even know all the possibilities that it has.
Yeah. And there is, I mean, there's just infinite possibilities that, time that we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go on Instagram, and I know I always tend to bash Instagram for this, but then, we know Instagram is, the home of the influencer, that's
Mm-hmm.
really where all that came from. Um, but, just to limit yourself to going on Instagram and doing it exactly like everybody else in your space does it is just not going to be, it's not going to give you the results, and it's not going to give you, I think, the satisfaction and that you're looking for, because again, it's just more of the same. Like, how can I align myself and do more of the same of what all these other people are doing? As opposed to, and even if you're, Instagram is your home and that's where all your people are, great. But go check out the other platforms, see what's going on there, and maybe take some of that, take some of those pieces and use it to create constant content on Instagram and create reels. And that's what's going to make you stand out, because you are not, it's not, because stop the scroll, right? You want someone to kind of stop dead in their tracks, be like, whoa, what's this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just doing stuff, just another shade of vanilla like everybody else, it's not going to get people to pay attention to what it is. And you're not going to be able to advance, your brand and amplify your message and get people to buy your things if you can't get their attention. Right.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about here, whether or not, you like attention or you don't like attention. It's required,
Yep.
and that's something I think a lot of us, myself for sure included, is you, even if you don't have to necessarily be the center of attention, but you have to understand that you need to get attention. Like, people aren't just going to be like, oh, it's not going to drop out of the sky, that you and your services and what you offer. People need to be able to find you. So you can still be an introvert, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
still be uncomfortable, and you can still be all of those things and create content.
Yeah.
You don't have to become a social media, superstar person, personality, in order to be able to spread your message and get people, build awareness around you or yourself, or getting back to what I said earlier about it doesn't necessarily have to be a business, even a passion project.
Right.
What's something you're passionate about? Is there a cause that lights you up, that you're excited about? Start with that. Because a lot of times when it's, when the business and the money's on the line, it gets hard. We feel like tight and restricted around, I feel like I'm selling and I feel sleazy.
Mhm.
Talk about something that you're passionate about. Maybe it's, rescue dogs or whatever, and then that's something that inspires you and gets you all lit up, and find a way to work that in. And then you're sort of easing yourself into it. And then you can over time build up that confidence and that skill to be able to then work in, more directed, not necessarily pitches, but things that are leaning more towards getting a sale.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, think about the amount of people who have these massive amounts of followers on their accounts that were started because they just wanted a place to post pictures of their dogs for themselves. They were just like, I just want to, like, I'm going to post pictures of my dog because I don't have room on my camera roll. So I'll, like, put them on social media. And then everyone was like, oh my God, I love your dog. Please post more pictures. Please post videos. Please tell us what they do in this situation, and, like, show them playing or enjoying this new toy. And then all of a sudden, I think that's really how it first started for people. And now it's a thing that, like, oh, you have an animal or a pet. Do they have their own social media account that I can follow? Because I'd rather follow them than you sometimes. Like, I feel like that's a way to get to know somebody too, is like, do you have a pet? Do you have an account for your pet? Let's see what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. And that gives you, and that's a great place to start for people that maybe, want to dip their toes in, but they aren't ready to fully commit to, like, this is for my brand.
Yeah.
Have it be your pet. And then you can start working yourself in there.
Right.
We've talked about this before about, about entry points. If you look at it on, on a continuum of, from easier to harder, you don't have to start at the hard, you can start at the easier, more of an approximation of, like, okay, I want to post content for my business and I'm not ready to do that. I'm going to start posting pictures of my animal and start making cute little captions and videos around it. And then I'm going to add myself in them, maybe, and then start with that. For all of us, people aren't necessarily comfortable or confident right out of the gate, being like, because so much of reels, that's what we, and also I think, it's worth saying, it doesn't have to be that, just because most reels are people's faces. And that, yes, they say that when you were to look at best practices for creating reels, they always say, make your face take up, the majority of the screen, and that's more appealing. But if you're not ready for that, you don't have to. There's no rules around that. You can start with, it's me and my dog. And then over time you get, maybe the dog doesn't show up one day and it's just you. I've said before, my first live video I ever did, I had a freaking houseplant with me, a houseplant as a guest. I mean, now in fairness, it was in a vase, and that was like it was like a face on the vase, the planter that it was in. It was like a sculptural planter that had a face, and the leaves look like hair. Is that weird? Yes, of course it's weird. But in the moment, it felt okay and kind of like I made a little jokey about it, like, I'm here with my co-host, haha. But I was terrified. I didn't want to be doing it. But I knew I needed to, because that's how I am. I'm like, if I'm terrified, I know I need to do it. I was like, I'm here with my co-host. She's going to be helping me out here. And then, a couple of times, like, people weren't responding, and I was like, I found the video the other day. I was like, oh my God. But it helped me. It helped bridge that gap for me. That was my entry point. For me, it was a houseplant was something that made me feel comfortable enough to be like, because it's when you're there and you're just looking at yourself, it can be scary. That's totally normal. And just finding ways to build the confidence, build up the courage, through repeated practice, things that make you a little bit more comfortable. And the next thing you know, you'll be Bree with 300,000 views and getting clients and finding her niche. And even that, right? Your niche is hardly, it's several, right? It's not just one. It's, and that's, I think, what people don't realize, it doesn't have to be just one. It can't, with gaming and cosplay and fashion and styling, those are all things that are, very somewhat unrelated if you take them on their own,
Right.
but you put them all together and it makes some kind of magic.
Yeah. Or a magical world, because fantasy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, 100% on board with everything you just said. And I think it, like, as we go into the next couple of weeks, especially with, it's holiday season, so everyone
Right.
is already getting crazy busy, whether it's for family stuff or their business, because, for a lot of small businesses, this is a really good time of year to put themselves out there. And if they have a product, they're trying to sell their product. If they have a service, they're making sure that people know they have this service. And if it is anything that has to do with being a better version of yourself for the new year, like, that's what people are promoting right now, is like, we're going into the new year. What are your goals? How do you want to take care of you? But also don't forget to take care of you during this time. Like, you can plan to schedule stuff out ahead of time to make life easier for yourself, so you can actually live in the moment with your family. But also, don't feel bad if you want to take a couple of videos of things that are happening while you're off work, while you are out of the office, and you're like, I just spent 3 hours making this pie. I should take a picture or a video of it and talk about it, because that was a lot of effort on my part. And people are going to relate to that, especially if it's a so-so pie and people are like, my pie didn't work out so well either. The oven is, like, again, it's that relatable thing. It doesn't have to be the most well-edited, perfectly sounding, great audio. Like, you can be yourself. You are allowed to have this is my curated stuff, and then this is me just being really relaxed and really, like, on the same level as everybody else. And especially this time of year, like, absolutely, you can put your best self out there with your holiday best on and also glitter and sparkles, but you can also be in your cozy PJs talking about the snow day that's happening.
Right.
And just, what are you doing on your snow day? This is how I'm taking time for myself, or this is what I do around the house when I'm stuck because traffic was terrible, so I'm not leaving until tomorrow from my family's house. What do you do when your family is driving you nuts during the holiday? Like, there are plenty of topics that you can talk about, because everybody experiences or thinks about these things. So think about that when it comes to maybe what type of content you want to create over the next few weeks. Sure, talk about the things that you want to make sure you're promoting for your business this time of year, but also what's going on for you personally that you think other people might also be experiencing, whether it's, I'm already overwhelmed by the idea of shopping for the holidays, or I've already gotten everything that I need for my family. I'm so excited that I have already shopped. The decorations are out. I don't care that it's not even Thanksgiving yet, because guess what? Don't yuck someone's yum. If it makes you happy, we're going to do it. Like, enjoy yourself. I think, if anything, that's what the pandemic really taught us, is like, do the things that you enjoy, please. Don't hold yourself back because you think, like, forget other people. Do what you enjoy and what makes you happy, because there are people out there who are going to be your people, who are going to be like, yes, thank you for putting the decoration up. I was going to do the same thing. You've inspired me to be able to do the thing that I wanted to do anyways. Thank you. So yourself, that's tying everything back around is.
Yeah. And I think that what you had said about, people putting out holiday things early, that becomes like, there's a lot of judgment around that. And it's like every year, right? There's always like people that are like, no, it's too early. Everyone starts fighting about it on all the different socials. But, the reality is, it's about celebrating.
Yes.
It's about celebrating a holiday season, and I'm not saying I'm in I camp, but again, it just is about figuring out what makes sense for you and not worrying about the judgment of others, because it's our fear of rejection that holds us back in every area of our life, whether it's creating reels or decorating for the holidays or not decorating for the holidays. If you decide you don't want to, right, that's okay too. Bringing your personal stuff in. Like, for this year, I'm making a turkey for the very first time. I've never made a turkey before. I've never had an occasion to make a turkey. But we are hosting Thanksgiving and I'm making a turkey. So we'll find out how that goes, So maybe I'll create a piece of content around my first turkey. I don't really know. But I could, and that's okay, And if people are like, that's stupid, or why haven't you ever made a turkey before? Oh, well, oh, well, it's something that's happening in my life. It's important to me and the people around me. So therefore I might do something with it, and people can do whatever they want. They can watch the reel or not watch the reel or whatever ends up coming from it. If I turn it into a piece of creative content, and that's the whole thing, these are our lives, right? We are creators of our own lives, and we're documenting them and putting pieces of them out into the world for people to see, and seeing if they connect with us, and if they want to do business with us, or if they want to follow us because they like what we bring to the table. Then that's what it's all about.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
So on that note, I guess we should probably wrap it up. It's heading right. So we're almost an hour. So we're going to wrap it up here. And for any of you interested in checking out Bree's work as a stylist, her website is Vostromoda, and she's on Facebook, and she's on Instagram, and she's on TikTok. And as well, for any of you watching that are interested in joining the Women's Empowerment Network, we are a group on Facebook, and we are welcoming any women that want to come along for the ride and check out what we're doing. We're doing some exciting things. I'm calling it crowdsourcing content. We are trying to help elevate women by encouraging them to create content, not just necessarily reels, but creating video content in a safe space, in a smaller container. If you're feeling intimidated about, I don't want to put my thing out on Facebook, this is a Facebook group. So there's going to be no trolling, none of that will be happening there, or else the people will be leaving the group if that happens. Zero tolerance for trolls in the group. But if you have something you're thinking about, if you've been thinking about, wow, I would love to create a regular series and talking about whatever it might be. If it's something that's empowering, inspiring, educational for women, we welcome you. And I am currently accepting applications for, I'm calling them member creators, essentially content creators on the network. So, and you get a couple of, benefits, place to try out your stuff. You can pilot new ideas, try new things. In exchange for that, creating content, you can get some help and feedback on your brand, on your voice, on your content, and, kind of refining that and figuring out what your messaging is. And in addition, you get the tech support and the tech infrastructure so that you can, because I'm a big believer in, if you're going to do it once, put it everywhere, don't create I have to do one for this and one for that. So anything you create on the network, you have the option of co-streaming to any of your channels. So, maybe you have a Facebook group that has, smaller numbers, and you're like, I feel kind of funny. You can be featured on the Women's Empowerment Network and then stream that content right to your group. And now your group gets some content, our group gets some content. We can maybe people might want to turn around and join your Facebook group. Yeah. Because of that, and vice versa. So we're all looking the larger vision for this. For those of you that have been around for a while, are probably like, what's happening here? A little bit of a pivot, but we're essentially looking to help women helping women elevate one another through content creation, and again, amplifying your personal brand, getting yourself out there, getting the courage to stick your face on video. And that's it. That's all I got. But that's what we're about. So check us out if you want to join us. And Bree and I are here weekly. This is a weekly segment that we do where we talk about things related to short form content video and confidence as business owners and personal brands. So we invite you, although we won't be here next week.
Yeah, and then possibly not the following week either, because it's the first week of December, and it's just crazy. Again, holidays are crazy. It's that time of year, my friends.
Yep. So, but check us out either way, because for the most part, anytime that we're not having live content, I've got a good stock of prior segments that I rebroadcast. So we are trying to fill the feed with all kinds of, like I said, fun, educational, inspirational, empowering content for women. So if that speaks to you, come on down and join us.
Yes, please do.
Yes. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy and have some great time with your families, and find some things to be grateful for.
Yep, absolutely. Have a great one, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.